Duelists, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. Today we have a new competitive deck that I've been trying out, and that is the Virtual World deck that I am very happy to show you. I'm very excited to show you. This deck is extremely competitive, but is also quite budget, surprisingly. This deck has a lot of cool combos and a lot of things that are I would define as unfair, and you have a lot of room to make changes if you want to, so there's a lot of room for any personal preferences that you might like in the deck. So jumping right into it, moving forward, I'm just going to show you the deck right now. Okay, so here is the deck that we have for you. I'm going to do a full card by card, and then I want to explain the reasons, the choices, and what this deck aims to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Keep in mind, this is a Platinum 1 deck. This is a great deck to play, as long as you have to sit down, learn the combos, know the interactions, know which cards to use in what circumstance. This deck is not easy to play, I will say. You definitely need to have some experience playing it. I've been playing it for a little bit now, and it's definitely one of the, I don't want to say one of the harder decks, but it's definitely you have to use some thought, knowing when to search, what to send, etc, etc. Before I jump into the card by card, just a friendly reminder to subscribe. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers. That'd be great. Super appreciate it. Moving on. So we have triple copies of Maxi. Maxi is, as I've said in every one of my videos about Master Duel, Maxi is the name of the game. As long as Maxi is in the game, it's going to have an impact on every game you play, most likely. So 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom stops Maxi. That is always the logic behind my head. And Ash Blossom is also just generically very, very good. But if our deck gets affected by Maxi, I want to be able to play Maxi and Ash Blossom in my list so that we can stop Maxi. Now for the actual Virtual Worlds, we have 2 copies of Nian Nian. Forgive me, my knowledge of the names is so low. I've just never actually learned them. I still have the pictures. I have 3 copies of Lulu, 3 copies of Gigi, 3 copies of Lao Lao, and 3 copies of Lily. So for the Virtual World monsters, we want to max out on the ones that activate in the hand to be able to get our consistency up. So this allows us to send the spell to the grave to be able to search for Lulu. Lulu is the main one because you get a search out of it. It is super, super good, and it's a tuner. Going on to the spells now, we have 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. This is just mathematics to be able to find the card that you want the most. 3 copies of Pot of Desires. You have a choice of playing Pot of Desires or Pot of Prosperity. I like Desires personally because everything in this deck is at 3. For the most part, you can play 3 of everything in the deck. Obviously, we don't have 3 like Itele, or I'm not playing 3 Nian Nian just because I don't think you need it. But personally, I like Pot of Desires. I like getting the extra card. I think it's super cool, and you can just, if you draw another one, you can just discard it with one of the effects later. So it's just something to consider, but you have options there. 3 copies of the Virtual World City, 3 copies of Qinglong, 2 copies of Emergency Teleport, 2 copies of Call by the Grave, and that's it for the spells. So Call by the Grave is obviously for hand traps, mostly Max C, but that is the main one. But it can stop any hand trap that your opponent tries to use to interrupt you. 2 copies of Itele. This just gets Nian Nian straight from the deck, or Lulu if you really want to go for it that way, but it's mostly for Nian Nian so you can get a monster on the field without special summoning, or sorry, get a monster on the field without normal summoning, and then you can start using your virtual effects in the hand, and then you can start comboing off that way, and it gets the Nian Nian for later plays, so you can bring it back as a tuner. We also have the 3 copies of this. This is pretty straightforward. We just want to be able to get the consistency up. This is also good for breaking boards, and it's our searcher when it's in the graveyard. This is what we're going to be sending most of the time with the Virtual World so that we can get to Lulu faster. That's what keeps the consistency of this deck high. Any Virtual World can send this so that we can get to Lulu, and then we can have more searchability. And any more deck interaction is always better for overall deck in general because we have access to everything. 3 City. City is very important. We want to be able to open with this because it sets up the trap immediately. We don't have to worry about it. But it can also get the spell if we need to break a board or something like that. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. It's also, I think it has another effect. I've never actually used it. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Oh, these other effects are so useless. They never really come up. But it is important to know that you should know these cards' effects. This one, just these other effects never really come up too much, but it's just something that can happen. So keep in mind these other effects for the city. Moving on to the traps, we have 3 copies of Chuchi. This card was at 2 in my list originally, and then I upped it to 3 because we play 3 Pot of Desires. This is not a bad card to draw. It's good to always have it because this is what makes other matchups that you would assume to be bad matchups much better. Things like Elrich definitely helps with something like this, and a lot of their back row floodgate cards are not that great because of something like Skill Drain that a lot of people were talking about in Master Duel. If they flip Skill Drain on you, you can still use all your Virtual World cards. That does not affect your Virtual World cards at all. They all still resolve, even with Skill Drain on the field. So you can play Skill Drain in this deck as well. I don't like it personally. That's just me because I want my end board to actually mean something. I don't want to just have it to do nothing. I know it can just be a blowout sometimes, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't think you need it, but just something that's good to know though. Then we have the one trap card. You don't want to draw this card really. I know it's a one of. You can play more of it if you really want to for desires, but I really don't think you need it. It doesn't always come up, and overall I don't think it's that great, but it's something just to have in here as an extender if you really need it. I also don't play the other virtual world monster. This one here. Hime, it's not one that activates in hand, and it's only just an extra, it's just a normal summon. It's not that great. And if it's in the grave, you can discard to bring itself back. And at that point, I would rather just have the trap instead. So I don't really see the purpose of playing this card. That's just my opinion. You can play it if you want. Like I said, you have plenty of room and plenty of flexibility here. And as you can see from the main deck, this is actually quite budget. There is no Virtual World Ultra Rare in the main deck. This is all just straight up supers, normals, and supers, commons, and rares. That's really it. Everything else is staples, desires. Oh, besides E-Telly, I guess, but I don't really consider that because E-Telly is pretty generic. Yeah, but like I said, Max you should already own. Ash Blossom you should already own. Called by the Grave, some people own, some people don't. I like owning it, like I said, because it counters Maxi, as I'm playing it in most of my decks. So I think you should have Called by the Graves anyway. And Upstart Goblin is another generic card that just mathematically makes sense to own 3 of. That was why I crafted 3 of it. I know it sucks because it's such a low impact. It feels like so low impact, but I promise you the mathematics make sense of it, that you want to be able to see your engine and consistency cards as much as possible. Also, I have a Sky Striker deck, so the Upstart Goblin's super help for that. But yeah, alright, we're going to move on to the extra deck now. We have the 1 copy of Stardust Charge Warrior, the 1 copy of Coral Dragon, and the 1 copy of Yugioh, I believe this one is called. That is it for the level 6 synchros. This is all you really need. The draw cards for both of these is very nice. Yugioh doesn't really come up too much, but it can sometimes. I've actually used the Stardust Charge Warrior's attack effect to be able to attack everything. It's kind of funny when it comes up, but it's just something to keep note. And the pop effect for Coral Dragon is also super relevant. It's just small things to keep in mind when you're playing. I also play 1 Cloud Castle, 1 Vermilion, 1 Crocodile Dragon, and 1 Shen-Shen. Shen-Shen's insane. It is an ultra rare, so that's just something to keep in mind. These are the only 2 Virtual World ultra rares, and you only need 1 of each. So you're not going to be breaking the bank too much. If you just crack the Virtual World pack and you pull 1 in 1, like I did, I got lucky. I actually pulled 1 in 1. The other cards that you're crafting aren't anything too crazy. You can just move forward from there. Moving on, like I said, the Crocosaur, very good card, being able to draw extra cards if you decide to synchro for it. And then there's also Disruption. You can discard 2 cards to destroy a card in your opponent controls. Super good. And this is also to pop a card. And then if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a tuner, I believe it is. So yeah, very relevant. This deck has a lot of like on-point destruction, which for a lot of decks can be a problem. Things like Eldritch, if you're not getting floodgated out with something like Rivalry of the Warlords, that could be a problem. But if they don't have anything like that, you can just completely dismantle their board, no problem, and then go for an OTK. Going on to the Exceed monsters, we have 1 copy of number 49 Fortune Tune, 1 copy of the Phantom Knight rank 3 Breaksword to be able to pop cards, 1 copy of Utopia Beyond, and then 1 copy of, I don't even remember the name of this one, Fan. They're really, like, the Exceed monsters come up pretty, like, and then we have 1 copy of Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger, 1 copy of Phantom Fortress, 1 copy of True King of All Calamities. This is the main card of the deck. This is something that's very important to keep note of. You definitely need this to play this deck, in my opinion. And then 1 copy of Zeus is another card that you definitely need to play this deck, in my opinion. These cards are very good, and they are like almost your win conditions for going VFD for going first, and then Zeus for going second. So the Fortune Tune is specifically in here for the Zeus, as I stated. This is something that you just can summon and then it can't be destroyed, and then you can just attack, make a Zeus on it to be able to clear the board. And then we have the Breaksword. Breaksword is a perfect on-field destruction. Like I said, this deck has a lot of ways of just popping cards, so being able to summon Breaksword, and then just popping a card and then going to Zeus in main phase 2. If your Breaksword attacks, definitely really good. And then we have the Utopia Beyond. Utopia Beyond's kind of cool because you can summon it, make all their guys 0, and then if you can make Stars Charge Warrior, there's some cheeky OTK plays you can do, or just a lot of damage. But you, again, I shouldn't have to keep repeating Zeus, but it's just something that's important to know. But yeah, it's a very good card. I definitely recommend it. It can help break boards a lot. The Virtual World Exceed, I don't know, I'm not crazy about this card. It's very, like, okay, it's a nice banish effect, but overall it's nothing really too great. It's just a Virtual World name that can come up sometimes. Some decks have a problem dealing with the destruction effect, but it's just something that's okay. Gaia Dragon, this is something like a Downer Magician for the Zeus. You also can play Downer Magician in this deck for the Zeus plays for the rank 3s, but for now I just play the Gaia Dragon because it comes up more. I also have the one Phantom Fortress. This is to rip a card out of your opponent's hand. It's just a nice rank 9 that you can summon to be able to constantly apply pressure. Also, if you make this, rip a card out of your opponent's hand, on the next turn, if this is still here, you can activate one of the other effects to keep getting more advantage that way. So this card can take out 2 cards. VFD is your main game. At the first turn of the game, you want to be able to summon VFD so that your opponent cannot play any monsters, essentially. They cannot attack or activate monsters on the field specifically, and they cannot use the effects of monsters with that attribute that you call from anywhere. So if you call white, they can't Nibiru you from the hand. If you call, again, white, they can't activate Drytrons in the graveyard. That's just another example. But yeah, this is just something that's very relevant and is like your win condition, essentially. You might think that VFD is not that great against something like Elrich, which is a trap deck, but not being able to use your Golden Ward in the hand and graveyard definitely comes up. And the fact that the Golden Ward cannot attack either, also very, very relevant. So that gives you a 1 more turn to be able to start going into your cards that just destroy cards. And you can just start wiping their board and just go for an OTK like that. And then, like I said, Zeus too. This is if they... Zeus is kind of like if they... you go second and you can attack with an Exceed monster, you just slap a Zeus down, clear the board. Or, if they clear your board, if they break your board, miraculously, usually you can just make a Zeus the next turn like it's no problem, and then just end the game that way, and then just clear their board, and then they should be out of cards for the most part, because they couldn't do any crazy combo plays the first turn. So they had to dedicate to clear your board, and then you just clean their dedication with Zeus. So yeah, that's going to be the deck for now. I don't have any combos for this deck right now because the actual combos are very, very complicated of knowing, like, if you have X card and Y card, what does that do specifically? But most of the combos revolve around Lulu. I know that there's other ones with Foolish Burial of Goods. If you have, like, if you have the city and, like, a random one. All the combos are very different. If you want me to explore that route of a video, I can do that for you guys if you request it, but I'm not positive I'm going to do that yet. But for now, this is the deck profile, guys. Enjoy getting the Plat 1 with it. Stay competitive. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to follow me on everything and subscribe to the channel if you like this video. I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.